You mean just feet in general, or specifically, like you said, wanting to put your feet in their mouth?
Usually feet in the mouth.
Really?
Yeah. You're so shocked.
You know, of all the jobs and all things that you can do to earn money, why get into stripping?
So I started on my 18th birthday, which excited me because I never made my own money before. They made sure I was comfortable with the fact that it was fully nude, not just topless. So he took me into a VIP right away, and I was like, this is what it is. I kind of prefer nude clubs. There's a lot of girls involved with pimps. Other girls were doing outcalls.
Would you ever consider working at a brothel?
I would rather just do that type of stuff independently. I guess the girl I was working with didn't believe him, so he just popped it out and started rubbing it all over us.
Was there moisture on this thing?
Yeah.
Ew.
But I thought it was kind of cool.
What's going on, guys? Jacob Orth back here with another video of Jacob's Life in Vegas, coming to you guys with a special interview here that I think a lot of you are going to like, and a lot of you have talked about this before on the channel and made requests similar to this. So I put it out on Twitter who I should interview that has experience being a stripper here in Las Vegas. I got some recommendations, and today we are being joined by a lovely lady named Marina. Marina, you can say hi to everybody. Hi. So Marina was cool. She agreed to do this. So I have some questions laid out for her. Some of these are ones that I came up with on my own. Some of these are ones I asked the audience to come up with. And I just wanted to get her experience talking about this here in Las Vegas, because in Las Vegas, we do have a lot of strip clubs, because we are known for being Sin City. We're known for being the nightlife and party capital of the world. So Marina came to talk today. If you guys want to follow her on her YouTube and her Twitter account, those will be linked down below as well, so you guys can follow her over there. But we're going to go ahead and jump into this. And first, I got to say thank you for coming on and doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll give you the first question, and it's one that I came up with that, some people are always curious about. Of all the jobs and all things that you can do to earn money, why get into stripping?
So I started on my 18th birthday, and the reason I got into it was because I always did acting when I was younger, and then I got into music. And when you're an 18-year-old, there's not really a way to make money off of that. So stripping to me was just an extension of being the entertainer that I already was.
So it's something you can make more money right away while still doing acting and doing the things you want to do longer term.
So my friends in my acting class weren't really working actors. The only working actor was a child actor who was getting consistent work. So I realized I couldn't really make money with the acting thing. And if I was going to do music, that wasn't going to happen right away, because I was planning to go to a music college for music business. And you have to pay for tuition somehow. True,
you do. Yeah, and those industries, those careers, it can be lots and lots of years of grinding and nothing, and then one day you hit it big.
Yeah, so.
So, but I mean, with that, so that was why you chose to go in. Now, you're born and raised here in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you went to go at 18 years old, the only place, well, there's only a handful of places you can strip at if you're 18. So when you went to your first audition on your 18th birthday, what was it like?
To make a long story short, the first place I went to turned me away.
Okay.
And then the second place I went to let me audition. They asked me a bunch of questions before I started. They made sure I was comfortable with the fact that it was fully nude, not just topless. And they let me watch a few girls on stage before I went up. And I was so nervous that I fell down 2 or 3 times during my audition. And it sounded like a 500-pound man falling. It was a busy Saturday night or something. And I did not get the pity tips that you would expect. And a guy knew I was new, obviously, from that audition. So he took me into a VIP right away.
Okay.
Which excited me because I never made my own money before. And the entire time, he just kissed my ass cheeks. And I was like, this is what it is? Like, I thought it was all stage. I knew lap dances were a thing, but I never actually thought that far ahead. So that was my initiation.
On your 18th birthday.
Yeah.
Wow. How much did you at least get paid for kissing your ass for the whole time?
$100 minus the $20 fee they take.
Uh-huh. That's freaking, I've never heard. So you guys, those of you who don't know, I worked in strip clubs here in Las Vegas for years. So that's part of the reason I wanted to do this interview, because I've already got a background in this, and obviously Marina does as well. So, some of these stories, some of the things I can relate to, and I've heard, and, I've been around.
Relate to that?
Not that one, shit. Definitely not that one, but I've never heard that before. So you got contracted on your 18th birthday. You had a weird start.
Yeah.
But obviously from there, you did it for 6 years consistently.
Yeah.
And then, here and there the last couple years.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously you got better at it, you became more comfortable with it over the years. And, you just continue to do it because it's obviously became a good source of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, so even despite that first night being so strange, why'd you decide to come back?
Well, it was strange, but it wasn't terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably made about $250 my first night.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that was a lot of money. I'd never made my own money before.
Yeah.
I never had a job.
At 18 years old.
And so I was like, okay, if this is how I'm starting, then I can grow this into so much more.
Mm-hmm. And for those of you guys that don't know, here in Las Vegas, the law is that if a place is going to serve alcohol, the strip club can be topless only. If there's no alcohol, they can go fully nude. There is one exception to that, and that's a club called Palomino in North Las Vegas, who they're grandfathered in. So they have full nudity with alcohol, but all the other big clubs, Sapphire, Rhino, Hustler, Crazy Horse Treasures, those big ones you hear about, those are all topless only because they have alcohol. So being that you were doing fully nude, then you also tried topless only clubs. Did you have a preference for doing one or the other since you've done both?
I kind of prefer nude clubs because I did that for 3 years before I was able to go to a topless club. And when I was at the topless clubs, I was like, you don't want any more? I was so, it gave me less to do, so it kind of made my job harder in a way.
Did you make more money doing topless or fully nude?
I made about the same.
Okay. But you still prefer doing fully nude?
It's just, it was an easier product for me to sell, because when you're at a topless club, the first question people ask when they go to a VIP before they go in is, well, what's the difference between that and a dance out here on the floor?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot easier to convert somebody to a VIP room rather than a lap dance if there really is something substantially different.
Right, that makes sense. So you had a pretty bizarre start on your first night. You got broken into the industry in a pretty awkward way.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about, in the years you've been doing it since then, other weird customers or rude customer experiences you've had. Because bizarre things happen in strip clubs.
Well, the rudest customers to me are the people that put their hand in front of your face and turn you away before you even introduce yourself, or the ones that completely ignore you when you're trying to introduce yourself. I can't stand that. But the most unique one was probably one that had a glass eye. And I guess the girl I was working with didn't believe him. So he just popped it out and started rubbing it all over us. And it feels kind of like how snakes feel slimy?
Yeah, to say, was there moisture on this thing?
Yeah.
Ew.
But I thought it was kind of cool.
Did he spend any money at least?
Yeah.
Okay, did he do some VIP time and make the glass?
But here's the thing, he had two girls, but he had one working eye. So he kept kind of doing that.
And look back and forth? Hey, whatever floats his boat. So, all right, so that's a unique one. So let's talk about, here's a question that a lot of people had, about, the life of working in that industry. Is it tough to maintain a healthy relationship, to have a boyfriend, or, some of them, because some strippers do have boyfriends, some actually are married, they have husbands. Do you think it's particularly challenging while you're doing that kind of work?
I think what makes dating challenging is living in Las Vegas, because most people work in nightlife, and because of that, they tend to be more unreliable in general. But for me, I mostly dated industry guys.
So they knew.
Yeah, it was never a problem because they were just used to it.
And there was nothing, it was all up front.
Right, and if somebody has a problem with what I do, they're obviously not the person for me. I'm not the person for them. So it's better to just go our separate ways.
But you don't think it's particularly any more difficult than...
No, it's about as difficult as just being in any big city.
Rick G, one of the people who follows the channel, asks, what are the biggest misconceptions people have about strippers? This is one of the most upvoted questions that came. There's some stigma, and oftentimes negative stigma, that comes with being a stripper.
Well, so after speaking with me, what would you assume about me? I think that'd be an easier way to frame it.
To think, well, I mean, when you come into like the strip clubs, I mean, like we actually before camera talked about, you get the customers who like, right, they try to save you because they think you're just in this world of pain and you can do better than this. And a lot of the strippers are like, dude, get away from me. Like that's they have this conception that like they can save you. Like you need to be saved or need to be rescued. So for a lot of strippers, like, no, like don't do that.
I think more often than not, especially because it's Las Vegas, people immediately assume that you're, I want to keep it clean for you too.
That's like a brothel.
A full service sex worker is what they call it.
Yeah.
And they assume that they get that with $100 VIP.
Well, especially with some international travelers, because in their home country, they can get that.
Yeah.
And in Las Vegas, some of them are disappointed to find out it's not like it's anything goes as they think it is, and they find out it's not as anything goes as they think it is, and it's not only that, but it's also going to cost them more to not be as anything goes as they think it is.
Right.
So, right, those are definitely some of the misconceptions I think that happen when it comes to strippers in Las Vegas and that kind of thing. I think a lot of another one that happens is, you think of being like having kind of like I said, needing to be rescued, needing to be saved, or having like a real troubled past, and things like that. So I mean, from your, not just necessarily for you personally, but with other women that you've worked with at other places. I mean, some might come from a good home, some might come from a bad home. I've known ones who've come from different religious backgrounds, and that kind of thing.
I think the bigger issue isn't, I guess where you come from has something to do with it, but there's a lot of girls involved with pimps. And I think that's where a lot of problems stem from. And there's actually a lot of religious groups that clubs will let in, and they just go to the dressing room, they leave cards, they usually give you like a lip gloss and cookies.
I see one of the nonprofits would come through and do that kind of thing.
In case anybody's in a situation they don't want to be in, it gives them an opportunity to get help. Though I don't know how helpful those groups actually are, because I don't know anyone that's ever taken a card and called them.
Right. Yeah, so I remember seeing some of those groups that would come and try to give out small gifts and things like that. And some places would let them in, other places were like, no, you can't come inside and do that kind of thing. The question came from a subscriber, Sean. He asked, how did you make it through the pandemic? Because obviously we were shut down and can't go to strip clubs if they're closed. Right. So for, either yourself or the other women that strip, how they went about making it through the pandemic?
Well, we were basically forced to work online because that was the only option available to us.
Right. And
it was really scary at first because we're independent contractors. And at the time, there was no unemployment system available for us because when you're a 1099 worker, you don't get unemployment. So a lot of girls were working online. Other girls were doing out calls. And the way that I made it through was I was just in a good enough position to not have to work too hard because I had stuff saved up, and then I was able to start working online pretty quick. So, but it was different for everybody. Because
one of the other questions another subscriber, Vegas to Cali, asked was about OnlyFans. And because that was obviously big during the pandemic, because like you said, you're basically forced to go and work online.
Yeah.
So people couldn't get in person, they had to go digital to find us somewhere. So lots of women who strip turned to OnlyFans and did that. So do you see OnlyFans as a bigger money-making opportunity than actually stripping in person?
It can be, but it's a business. And with businesses, you have to put money into them. With the strip clubs out here, they already have a name going for them. They put money into promotion. You don't have to do any of that work. If you're doing something online, you have to build it up from the ground up. And a lot of girls aren't prepared to put in that kind of work. So I don't see it getting any more popular than it already is.
All right, so you think probably during the pandemic it reaches peak of popularity?
I don't know if it reached its peak. I feel like the peak was before that. Because the people before the pandemic, that was their career that they were building up and working hard at. When the pandemic hit, everybody just flocked online, didn't put in a lot of effort, and then left as soon as the next job opportunity came up.
Mm-hmm. And like you're saying, when you work at a club, that's one thing they do is they provide the building, they provide the staff, they provide the branding, they provide the marketing, they do all of that.
Yeah.
You get to work there where you're saying, but if you're going to be on OnlyFans, you're doing it all yourself.
Right.
You got to promote yourself. You got to figure out the whole thing on your own in that regard. So Bucky had asked, one of my subscribers, would you ever consider working at a brothel?
I have had friends that worked in brothels, and learning what goes on behind the scenes would make me say no. Because from the girls that I knew, they said brothels took 50% of their service fee, 50% of their tips. You had to pay 50% of the value if a customer gave you a gift. So if he bought you a $250 necklace, you had to pay half that to the brothel.
Really?
And you can't leave the property for more than a few hours, or else you have to pay for more testing, which you come out of pocket for. You have to pay a boarding fee to live there. And it sounds like a lot of overhead for not enough pay, because when you're in a brothel, when something's so freely available, the price goes down.
Supply and demand.
Right. So I would rather just do that type of stuff independently.
Mm-hmm. And that was another question that someone else had asked was, speaking of costs, what are really, if you're going to be dancing at a club, you're going to be stripping there, what really are your costs of doing that job? Because you are your own business,
right,
but you're dancing at that club. So, what are the costs that you typically have to incur?
There's a $200 business license, and then a sheriff's card, which is about maybe $60 to $100 per year. And then you have at least $100 worth of fees per night before any cuts are taken from any VIPs or dances you do. So $200 a night maybe is your cost of business, plus hair extensions, outfits, boob jobs, whatever you feel you need to present yourself in the best way possible. Mm-hmm.
And have you ever done, this came from Audrey on YouTube, have you ever done private bachelorette parties and things like that?
No.
No. Because if you do those, it's like security is like another added cost.
Well, the girls that do that don't have security. They either work independently without security, or they're working through those like girls direct to your room cards that you see on the strip. Anytime you buy from one of them, from what I'm aware of.
Yeah, I've never known anyone to actually call one of those cards. No. And I've never heard of anyone who's done, with all the followers I have, I've never heard of anyone who's actually done it.
From what I'm aware of, the fee that you pay up front goes to the girls direct to your room people or whoever. And then the girl asks for more money once she's at the door because she's not getting any of the cut from that.
So she starts off negative.
Yeah.
And same concept as when you go, if you're going to go strip at the club, you start off negative, in that regard. So subscriber Bucky had asked, what do you think are the top 2 strip clubs in Las Vegas?
The most popular one that my male friends go to is Crazy Horse 3. My male friends like that a lot. And I'm biased, so I'm going to say Sapphire because it's the largest square footage wise. And there's a lot of different VIP options.
And because you dance there?
Yeah. Well, I'm not dancing there consistently.
Right.
So I've only really worked at a handful of places out here. And I don't want to give recommendations if I don't have enough experience at a club.
No, that makes sense. So a subscriber named Winston had asked, have you ever danced in other states or other countries? And if you have, like, what are the differences between going to different states or countries versus Las Vegas?
Well, I've never even left the country, but I've had a lot of friends that worked in Guam, and I was considering travel dancing for maybe the rest of the year when I work, because I'm not exactly excited about Vegas right now, personally, because I've been here for so long. So I'm researching some other places. Certain places have different business license fees. Some places don't have any regulations. So with clubs, you have to do a lot of research before you commit to traveling somewhere.
Mm-hmm. So you've never traveled to another state to...
No, not yet.
Okay. So subscriber Drew on YouTube had asked, how long is the shelf life for doing something like this? Because you started at 18, and obviously you can only do this line of work for so long. So, you know, what would you say is, whether you want to say the average or really how long someone, you know, can go doing stripping for an income?
Well, for any job, you only have so long, because if you get hurt at any job, if it's whether you're a painter or a truck driver, if your body goes out, you're out. But with stripping, I would say it's about like any other type of entertainer, and you probably have about 3 to 5 years professionally to make the most money, because that's when you're going to be the most excited. And I think that has a lot to do with how long you're going to last.
So you think the ones who've been doing it for 10, 15 plus years, it just becomes routine, and
it usually becomes routine and they stop trying as hard. The more successful ones that strip usually have side gigs. They do hair on the side, or they do lashes, something like that. They have a regular job working at a restaurant, and stripping's their side gig.
Because I've only known of a handful over all the years that I've talked to or worked with that, you know, made a good chunk of money in a short time and either bought a house with it or used it to start a business or something like that. You know, because sometimes what happens is they strip for 10, 15, 20 plus years and there's nothing after that. They have no plan for after that. They've got no...
I think that's most people in general.
Most people in general, but what happens, and this happens stripping in particular, but also there's more opportunity for it in Vegas in general, because yes, stripping is one aspect, but if you're a bottle server at a day club, if you are valet, if you're one of the nightclub hosts, right, and you're making lots of sales, making commissions, you're a casino host, I mean, you have an opportunity to make a lot of money doing a job that, you know, doesn't require necessarily a ton of technical skill, like being a software engineer or something like that. And also a good chunk of your money can be made in cash. So Vegas as a city provides a unique environment that, you know, most places, you know, you can't necessarily make, like you can't make as much doing housekeeping in most other cities as you can in Las Vegas.
Right.
You know, especially if you have like a union job or even a non-union job and you're one of the nicer properties where they're paying you $15+ an hour, plus whatever tips you make on top of that. Most housekeeping jobs across the country are not like that.
Right.
So in Vegas, we have more jobs like that that are not really very highly technically skilled, but you can make a lot of income doing it. So I think it's, for a lot of people, I mean, that happens here. If you talk to people who worked in the industry, you know, back in like the 90s,
right, you
know, or people who were here during the .com boom were making all kinds of money, and then market went down and they're broke.
Well, I think it comes from, because it doesn't require, a lot of the jobs out here don't require a lot of technical skill. Most people aren't brought up with families that know a lot about money management. It's a lot of lower middle class people getting a lot of money all of a sudden, and because of that they don't have a lot of respect for money, or they don't know how to manage it. And I feel like that's what causes all of that.
It is. It's a huge part of it, because I mean, I remember talking to one guy years ago who came here as a bartender in the late 90s, and he thought he was going to make like $80,000 a year, and he made $180,000. But I met this guy in 2013, and even when I met him, he was probably making $400, $500 a night working at a club here in town. And I remember thinking, like, why aren't you retired by now?
And
Like-
most of them they like the nightlife scene. So after work, a lot of them, they go out drinking, they go out gambling. And because they're making so much money, they don't realize how much they're putting out. Too.
Yeah. The mentality is, I'll make it tomorrow.
Mhm.
Like, I'll make it again tomorrow. It's like,
Yeah.
but at some point you can't do that forever. So that is a good point in talking that, for a lot of people, they don't have that mentality of what to do. So, which brings me to another question that a lot of people have is, how do you transition to go from making all this money, in stripping to doing something else, either another career, starting a business, doing something else that's, you could do for the rest of your life, you could do for decades after you're done dancing?
Well, most people usually go by who they know. They usually go from stripping to bartending, or they get into something like real estate. Those are the two most common things girls get into after dancing.
Yeah. And then from there, they're just trying to, because like we said, you can only strip for so long.
Right.
So, you would just say, but even with those two, for a lot of it, it's not necessarily the job they have. A lot of it's just more so the mentality they have.
Mhm.
And when it comes to treating money. So basically, it sounds like where we've been talking about here is like, yes, you can make a ton of money stripping. I've known of some who've made a few $100,000 in a year doing it. But if they're not smart, they're screwed. Like, if they don't treat it well, they're going to be screwed.
Right.
So subscriber I Gots to Know It asks, has anybody ever had a heart attack during one of your performances?
Nobody's ever had a heart attack, but I remember one time, because vapes are really popular, there was this little Asian guy who didn't speak a lot of English, and he kept saying, "You're so pretty, I need my inhaler, because I can't breathe around you." So he kept pretending his vape was an inhaler. No heart attacks, though.
Good.
Really.
That's good.
But I feel like I've seen ambulances, so maybe not with me, but maybe with other people.
Well, it's a good night when the ambulance doesn't have to come to the strip
Now that
club.
I think about it, yeah.
I've seen an ambulance or two come to the strip club before. It's usually a good night if they don't have to show up and do that kind of thing. So let's talk about the aspects of the job,
Okay.
and being a stripper. What are your favorite and least favorite aspects of it?
My favorite is asking if somebody's paying cash or card. 'Cause that usually means I get to finally do my job. But my least favorite would probably be, I've had a lot of customers pay me like a full $500 for the hour, and they'll pay me cash. Then once we get in the room, they'll be so drunk that they can't sign for the drinks that they have to buy, which they're paying card with it. And since they can't sign, because in Vegas, if the signature doesn't look exactly like the one on their license, they don't want to charge back, so they just don't let you stay in. And the guys have never asked for their money back. They just leave. But I kind of hate it because I'd rather do my job, because people always do this when it's really slow at the club. So now instead of having an hour to kill, I just have to sit on the floor by myself with this $500 in my pocket.
There are worse things in the world.
Yeah, but I like entertaining, and I'd rather be doing that than sitting around.
Well, and plus sometimes in the VIP, you get those guys who pay $500 for an hour, and it's basically they just treat it like a therapy session, or they just want to sit there and talk.
And they're always drunk and nice when they're doing that, so it would have been the perfect time to hang out.
Yeah, or sometimes you get the guy who either wants to give you a foot massage. I've
Do
seen
you like
this
foot
before.
giving foot massages?
Not in that scenario, but I've seen that before working in different clubs. I've seen guys just tickling a girl's feet in the VIP room, and that was what he wanted to do, and she was okay with it. So, sometimes that's why I tell people something, it's not always what they think. Because some guys do come and they'll pay $500 for an hour just to talk about how terrible their marriage is.
Or they pay it and they just walk away for some reason.
Yeah, they'll only do half the time. Like, okay, I'm good. And they walk out and they're like, they don't want a refund on any of it. So sometimes those kinds of things can happen. I've known of waitresses or entertainers who just get money from some guy, just tips and goes, "Oh, you're real pretty." And just have some money. And it happened to you?
A few times.
No, see. So that's a unique thing in Vegas. Other strip clubs, I'm sure that happens too, but it's particularly in Vegas. And the other thing that's particular too here in Las Vegas is, because we have the casino, sometimes you get that guy who just won a bunch of money in the casino and they come out and they're ready to spend it. That's one thing that's unique about the gambling here with the clubs and people who strip here. they have a better opportunity in some ways to get that kind of thing. And the fact we have so many conventions here as well, you get a lot of the business clientele who come in and that sort of thing. So, I mean, you really, in Vegas of all places, you have some unique opportunities to make a lot of money.
Right. Or even as a customer, there'll be guys that come in that just want, and they'll just want to buy everybody at the bar a couple rounds of drinks because they want a bunch of money. So it can be good for the customers just as much as the workers.
Yeah, they want a bunch of money, or they're here on a business trip and, you know, boss is buying drinks for everybody. And hey, ladies, you want drinks too? Jump on in and that kind of thing. And they're on the company card. So they're like,
right off.
Yeah, this is a meal and entertainment expense for sure. So in the years you've been stripping here in Las Vegas, have you had, you know, we talked about some of the things that are annoying, but in your years of stripping here in Las Vegas, have you ever had a night that was just a night from hell?
The night from hells are always from working with girls that I don't know because they don't know how to sell. And so they make my job really hard because they want to stay and talk forever on the floor without getting paid. And I have to balance getting a guy in a room and not being rude and talking over the girl that I'm working with.
Right, because there is, for those of you who don't know, there's etiquettes that strippers
Don't
have.
follow.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah, it was like one of them is like, obviously if you're talking to a customer, like another stripper doesn't come and like interrupt her, right?
Well, sometimes you'll be at the bar and you'll be sitting side by side with another girl and a guy walks up and just talks to both of you. So at that point, you're kind of both invited to do your thing.
Exactly. And they say if it's someone you don't know, you're not familiar with,
Right.
You're not just trying to sell the customer on doing VIP time. You have to also manage another person who might not know what she's doing.
And most of the time they don't.
Do you prefer to work with another woman or do you prefer to usually work solo?
I prefer to work solo or with people I know. Sometimes it's easier to work with other girls because there's a lot of bachelor parties that come in. So especially when your friend happens to be sitting on The Bachelor and you're with the bachelor's friend, you can just go, oh, do you want to buy a dance with me and my friend for The Bachelor?
Right. It's an easier sell.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So you'd rather generally be solo or with someone who like, all right, I know she knows how to sell.
You could do like 50-50.
Yeah. Because because I've seen that before in the clubs too, where some prefer solo, but others, there's like two that like always work together. It's like they're almost always they're almost always like a package. The two of them always work together kind of thing. So you can do either one. It's just the other person's got to know what she's doing.
Right. Or I specialize with couples. A lot of girls don't like couples. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's easier because sometimes I could get the wife naked. So I'm working with another girl anyway.
You are. So let's talk about that, because I mentioned that in a video I did about couples coming to Vegas and things to do. And I talked about that, how a lot of the strippers don't like couples, or they're just very hesitant because it's always about the wife or the girlfriend, because you know the husband, the boyfriend is pretty much always down to be there. But if the wife, the girlfriend, if she's not feeling it, it's going to be a tough road. So, when it comes to couples, how do you approach it, or is there any advice that you give to couples? I have advice that I've given them, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, the women are usually more into it than their husbands. So that's the first thing that I keep in mind. But if you're a couple coming to Vegas or any strip club, I think it's best to go to a host and just ask, can you send over somebody that does well with couples? Because it can be a long time before girls approach you sometimes. Right.
And that's one option you could do, because that's where obviously the host can know, because they know the women.
You get your tip.
Yeah, exactly. You can tip out the host if you want to make some money. But the hosts also know the women who will work with couples, who like them, who are like, only if they request me kind of thing.
Right.
What I've said for couples to do, because a lot of people come into the club and they're like apprehensive to go up and talk to any of the women that are there stripping. What I've said, if I'm like, dude, for the guys, if you're there and your wife or your girlfriend is happy to be there, I was like, dude, have her go up to the woman and say, hey, can you join me and my husband or me and my boyfriend? Then that way the woman who's working there knows everything's cool.
Right.
She knows both people are down for it, both are fine, and like it'll usually be a lot smoother trip to do it that way. So that part is good, because as I said, a lot of the women usually don't like that, working with couples.
But some people like me kind of specialize in it for some reason, and
just you have a knack for it.
Good.
So when it comes to people coming to strip clubs, and because a lot of people come to Vegas, especially if it's like their 21st or they're younger, or maybe they've just never been to Vegas at all, and they've never been to a strip club, or they've just never been to a Vegas one. Let's go over some of the etiquette and things that they need to know, because there's no shortage of wild and crazy things that happen in Vegas strip clubs. So what are some like the biggest rule violations that you see, customers come in there and that they do?
Well, a lot of people want high contact dances, and the best way to do that is to not touch at all, because when you are respectful, you're going to get a lot more for your money. And I think another rule of etiquette is to be prepared to spend at least $300 to $500 with drinks, dances, tips for everybody, because it can be an expensive thing. And you want to be prepared for that, so you're not taken by surprise.
Yeah, it's a good point, because some people do come to the club and they're unpleasantly surprised at how much things cost.
Right. And you're going to enjoy your time a lot more if you know what to expect in that department too.
Yeah, that's true. And then, like you said, when it comes to some people want more contact and to be more physical, I mean, whoever's working, they're going to let you know what the boundaries are.
Right.
And, because I've seen a guy come in who probably was about 21, he had just paid the entrance, and like first woman he saw just like smacked her ass, and then she shoved him, and then he I
feel like we get pretty physically violent sometimes because we can get away with it in those situations because management will see it as justified enough.
Well, I mean, he did. I mean, like to just pay at the register, like walked in first when she was at the cage trying to like cash out her money, and just like smacked her on the ass. She looks at him. Back. She did. She shoved him in his shoulder right back, and it was like I saw his face when he looked. He was like in a daze. But when she shoved him, he kind of like snapped out of it. And I was like, "Hey, don't do that."
You learned quick.
Yeah, he did. He learned pretty quick on that one. He goes, "I'm sorry, sir."
Some people I go for the smack, not the shove. Mm-hmm. But then people are into the smacking and want me to be a dominatrix. So then they keep trying.
Yeah, sometimes they request that.
Very often, yeah.
Have you had some? What are some of the requests that you might get fairly regularly, but there's that the general public might be surprised that you get?
People wanting to put your feet in their mouth. And I remember one time a girl said she had a guy that wanted her to do jumping jacks to get them sweaty before he started playing with her feet.
Oh, you want to get her feet sweaty?
Yeah.
Oh.
So he had her do jumping jacks.
Okay. That's a new one.
The feet thing is probably the most common.
You mean just feet in general, or specifically, like you said, wanting to put your feet in their mouth?
Usually feet in the mouth.
Really?
Yeah. You're so shocked.
I've heard of that, but I didn't know. I never thought it was that common. So people wanted to put your feet in their mouth, that kind of thing. You ever had a guy? There's one place I worked at. There was a guy who wanted he had paid for 3 strippers for several songs to basically just verbally degrade him. And
I've never heard of that.
He wanted to be insulted and yeah, it was an uncommon request, but I mean they fulfilled it.
Whatever floats your boat.
It floated his boat for sure. So I mean, anything else along those lines? It's like a dominatrix type of thing, or just any other kind of strange feet? Is the number one is feet.
And dominating are the most common.
Okay. So I mean, we've covered a whole heck of a lot with questions I had set up from myself, from subscribers and people who've asked these kinds of things. I mean, is there anything else about the industry, the job, your lifestyle here in Las Vegas, stripping in Sin City, that you think people just don't know about or might be interesting for them to hear? Anything else you want to talk about?
I think most people would be surprised to know that I'm very introverted. So if I'm not at work, I'm at home, I'm listening to music. I don't really go out to bars unless a friend's in town. So the lifestyle is a lot less crazy than people expect.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I've known some people in nightlife who don't drink at all. And a lot of it, I think, is because people, they first move here and they party all the time and they're in nightlife, so they're always around it, so they burn out. So they might stay in nightlife, but they don't drink, or they drink very rarely and that kind of thing. So
I think alcohol just tastes better in a strip club, so that's why I don't really drink outside of it.
And then Now, you're also working on a book, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the concept has changed a lot over the last couple years that I've been working on it, but it's going to be more about me and not so much how to become a stripper or what to expect in a strip club as a customer. And I hope to have it done within the next couple years, but it's been changing so much and evolving into its own thing finally that I'm afraid to say too much about it because it might change even more.
All right, but it sounds like you're going down the road of more like a lot of your life experience, and lots of, it's not a tutorial for how to become a stripper,
Right.
but lots of just your experiences, your life experience and things like that.
And my observations with the people around me. And I want to have a lot of fun stuff in it too, make it a really interactive experience. So.
Well, if you guys want to follow that and follow along, like I said, she's on Twitter and she's on YouTube. So I'll put those links down below if you want to follow her. Follow Marina on Twitter and on YouTube. So this was good.
Yeah, thank you.
This worked out well. I appreciate you sharing some of the crazy stories and that kind of thing, and come on and doing this. So Marina, thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, so guys, that's going to be it for this video. I appreciate you watching. Tell me what you think about this down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview and had a good time. That's going to be it for this video. I am Jacob, and this is My Life in Vegas.